Hello.
Hello and welcome to the Alchemist Inkwell.
This is your spiritual podcast for grounded people. My wire from my headset was attacking me. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. Mine is also being like weirdly velcroed onto everything at the moment, so I keep
Right?
like pulling it up and being like, "Could you stop? Like, could you stop?" How you guys
Today,
doing? How are you
yeah.
doing? We're gonna treat this a little bit like a FaceTime. You're doing stuff. We're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Emotions be happening.
It is a day of emotions. We are recording this on Monday, the 24th of March, while Mercury Cazimi is almost perfect. It's like 8 degree minutes away from perfection. So this is a good day for us to be recording as far as Mercury retrograde goes. Huzzah. Um,
Huzzah.
which means, yeah, hopefully we can keep ourselves organized and on task enough to get through all of the stuff that is happening this week because it's a big astrology week. And then we also want to talk to you about something really fun and
Yeah.
almost quite literally escapist in the best of ways.
Yeah. I mean, this is not the spiritual podcast for on task and organized people, so I don't know
No,
how well we're
yeah.
going to
This
achieve
is
that.
the spiritual podcast for grounded neurodivergent people. We try.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
And
another
honestly,
t-shirt.
this is such an emotional week. I don't know how much actual action is going to happen this week as far as stuff going on, but the emotions are just so much. It's
You know,
just like soupy up
you
in
know what
here.
I think it's going to be? I think it's going to
Hmm.
be a lack we're going to be so desensitized by
Existence.
over sensational desensitized by over sensational headlines that we're just going to kind of crash out by the end of the week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when of course Neptune moves into Aries too, so whatever. But we have an eclipse this week.
Whatever. It's fine.
The end
It's
of the week
whatever.
has the strongest transits are at the end of the week, and I think what leads us to those transits is going to get us to the point where it's like, aliens are invading. Oh, do I still have to go to work on Monday? Like that kind of feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's a all right, I'll be super real since you guys are podcast friends. So,
Yeah.
for me, I am afraid of this week, to be totally honest. And I'm not meaning it in like a be afraid, be scared, hide. When I look at the energy, it causes a lot of fear. It causes a
Mhm.
lot of scaries. I don't think like inherently the worst thing ever going to happen. I think people are reaching a point, and that point is scary. And
Mhm.
so I am making sure on my level and in my world and in my spheres and in my energy and all those things to not, if I hit that point, to not completely freak out and break down and whatever and that sort of thing. I think we have tools, us being podcast buddies. I think we
Mhm.
have tools in which we can handle the stuff that's coming up. Not everybody has those tools, and I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a very emotionally dynamic week where we're going to see people have like they've been holding it together and they're not going to
Mhm.
anymore.
Yeah.
And that's going to be people in the public eye. That's going to be on a grand scale. That's going to be people
Mhm.
on social media. That will probably be people in your own life. So just to warn up ahead of that, I think we're reaching breaking point
Yeah, and I think,
on stuff.
that behooves us as the ones who do have the resources to make sure this week that you utilize your
Hmm.
resources. I have personal beef with this right now, so I'm going to try very hard not to come across as too stern for people who did not do anything to deserve it. Y'all are great. But if you have surrounded yourself with resources and you've given yourself like a little scout merit badge because you surrounded yourself with resources and yet you do not utilize those resources, they are not actually doing anything and you are not actually like earning that merit badge. The merit badge comes
Hmm.
with the experience of actually doing something, not with the, like when I was a kid, I hung out with the Boy Scouts. And my dad would have my brother, and by extension me, I got to be participatory. We would build the Pinewood Derbies. We would build all this stuff. There was one kid in the group whose dad built everything. And so he got all the merit badges because his dad built his Cubmobile or because his dad built his Pinewood thing. And
Mm-hmm.
don't let your metaphorical parent earn your badges for you right now. Like,
Yeah.
use the tools that you've built. Yes, it is great that you are the person that surrounded yourself with them, but that's not for show. They're not ornaments on a Christmas tree. This is to keep you going. This is the
Mm-hmm.
time to lean into those resources you gave yourself, to lean into your community, to lean into your support system and say, hey, stuff kind of sucks right now. Can I rant about it? I ranted this morning
Mm-hmm.
on my live. I'm going to make it a regular thing. And
Yeah.
I think that that's helpful. And if you have a good support system, you will find like we have to meet for like 2 hours each time we meet because a solid hour of it is us ranting to each other about what we
Yep.
need space held for, because that's what
Yep.
friends do. And you're an amazing friend, and I appreciate you for it. And
You're an amazing friend, and I appreciate you for it.
may you all have a friend like that. And if you don't, use the comments, rant to us in your comments. And we may not be able to
That's
respond
fine.
to all of them, but it is space for you if you do not have another
Mm-hmm.
person to hold that for you.
Yeah.
If you do, though, use it. You
Yeah.
probably pay people to hold space for you. If you have the benefit of a therapist, make them do their work.
Mm-hmm.
They're hopefully in this because it's what they love to do. And so let them do their job. You pay
Yeah.
them for it, they are compensated. You're not a burden. Do it. Let yourself be
You also have
honest.
spirit guides to rant to too. Like
You
even if you're
do.
like, I don't have anyone to rant to, you do. You have your
Yeah.
spirit guides, and I guarantee one of your guides at least is messy and wants to hear
Mhm.
all of the rant. Like I
Yeah.
guarantee at least one will be
Oh,
like, oh yeah, let's rant about it and like come on into the space.
yeah. I take it
And
straight
whether
to
or not
God.
they're you know who they are or not, that's fine. You can still be like, I need you all to sit here and hold space for me while I rant at you, and
Mhm.
know that they're there sitting there and holding space for you while you rant at them, and then
Mhm.
things will shift and change. Don't forget that. It's a really important time whenever things get really intense like this, right? We felt this, the closest thing I can represent this as is in 2020. It was scary in a lot of ways, right? We
Mhm.
were scared in a lot of ways. And what did most of us lean on? Learning new things.
Mhm.
That is your number one tool to lean on when things get scary. And we forget that because we get scared, especially when there's so many sensationalist headlines, when there's so much energy coming at us, when there's so much news and there's so much whatever, and social media doesn't feel safe and all these different things, right? Learn something new, whether that is how to crochet. I recommend honestly doing spiritual development stuff if you have not learned how to do cards but you've always wanted to. If you haven't learned how to if you want to dive in and learn into astrology, look at Krista's stuff. If you want to learn how to connect with your spirit guides, really on how to understand your own energy. I actually just launched a basics
Mhm.
of psychic foundations is what it's called. It's a mentorship with me. It's 9 weeks long, and it's like for basics and taking you to the next level and really working through all of your psychic stuff. But like even if you don't know a ton, it's a really wonderful space for that. So you can look at that on my
Mhm.
website if you want to check that out. But like just whatever it is, like it's a time to learn something new. That is how we fight it energetically. That is how we remain okay. That is how we don't get so overwhelmed is we have something else. It's a great time to learn a language. Like this is a time to learn something new. Please throw energy at that instead of sitting in your space and spiraling and being scared, especially when this week brings up scary shit.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, yeah, and a
yeah.
lot of this learning can lead you to really aligned community. Like, one of the things that I'm
Hmm.
really excited about is our April book in the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom book club. We're going to
Hmm.
be it's Circling the Elephant. And it's about comparative theology. It's about decentralizing basically Christianity so that we can understand the common story throughout everything. And if I tell you how comforting it is to realize that a lot of the stuff we've been pressured by in today's culture, especially in the US, which is founded on a lot of um, fundamentalist Christian values, I'm not sorry for saying it. Um,
It is.
if you understand that that pressure is imaginary, it helps so much. I literally just posted a rant kind of about this on my YouTube today, if you want to check that out too. Like, we're here for you. We are amazing. Honestly, M is an excellent learning source. I hold myself accountable to be a reliable learning resource. There are so
Yeah.
many good teachers out there. And if you can find them, that's awesome. And they typically, in today's era, come with really solid communities. And that's
Hmm.
even better.
Yeah. It's really just, even if you don't, I mean, obviously we're talking about like paid learning things, but I have a free tier on my Patreon. You have a free tier on your Patreon. We're not going to be shoving headlines in your face if you're trying
Mhm.
to like not. have so much news and stuff come back to you on social media, like, head we can totally join our Patreons for free. We're in that space for you to share just our videos there and little tidbits and whatever. So that's also there too. But I mean, and a lot of other creators and a lot of other teachers and whatever have those spaces as well. But it's the way that we have, like, we build a life raft for ourselves. We did it in 2020. You've already done it. Everyone threw so much energy at learning new things in 2020. It was amazing. It was wonderful. We all had this beautiful boom of new knowledge and spiritual connection, all these things. And part of that was because we were stuck in our houses alone. But part of that's also because we used that tool to navigate what was scary. That's the same tool we got to lean in on now in a lot of ways. And it's not shutting out the world. It's being like, well, I'm going to grow through this anyway. And that is huge. That
Hmm.
is such a powerful thing to do, and not letting only your growth come from the only source of your growth come from trauma, which is where
Yeah.
a lot of our growth comes from. We've grown past that. We don't need to have the only source of our growth be trauma. We can choose to grow too. And that's the thing that I just am really I want to encourage everybody to do right now. It's super duper important. And if even if you're like, I don't have anything that sparks a ton of joy, but I know psychic stuff used to for me. So I'm gonna try to I'll invest in this and see if that brings that joy back. Or art used to for me. So I'm going to invest in this and see if that brings the joy back. And I don't just mean money investment, it also means time
Hmm.
investment or energy investment, right? And that's huge. Like, try it out, play with it, see, even if it doesn't spark joy right now, it doesn't have to. If past you liked it and you haven't
Hmm.
felt that spark in a while, try that.
Hmm.
But it's not supposed to feel amazing and magical, perfect from the second we would love it too, and I know we would, but that's not what it's for.
Yeah, I still remember in December, I was tuning into my guides for something and they were like, you're going to need some hobbies.
Hmm.
And I had learned how to do the Rubik's Cube, which is really helpful for me, honestly, for like a fidget thing and something to really zero in your senses on, because you have to
Hmm.
be looking at it and analyzing and then solving. It's a problem that no matter how much somebody messes it up, you can solve it. I love it. Um, but you also, like we talked last week about crochet, reading more books, listening to audiobooks while you crochet is amazing. Getting into some more like anime or TV shows that you really love. There are so many options. And honestly, because we are so overstimulated by the news right now, wit by design, I think,
Yeah,
it's a
for
really good
sure.
idea to retreat into our own space and just get in touch with our own energy again, which is
Right.
the benefit that we had of the experience in 2020. We didn't have to worry about the world. The world was being quiet for once, and we got to get to know ourselves. And I
Mhm.
I liked that.
Yeah, I did too. Well, let's just say, remember that, like, skills are
Hmm.
things that can never be taken away.
Hmm.
So if you speak multiple languages, that can't be taken away. If you understand how to communicate with your spirit guides and do magic and all these things, that can't be taken away. If you understand your connection to the earth, that can't be taken away. If you understand how to crochet or whatever, like, that can't go away. Those are things that are yours that you can own and have safety and stability in, because those are things that can't go away. They're yours. And that is something also that's really helpful to think about and to acknowledge in this space.
Hmm.
We don't want you to freak out. We're not trying to freak you out. We're just trying to
Hmm.
give you, like, something to, like, flow with and have something to do and have a path to move forward on. And um it will benefit you to trust the universe more than you want to trust in fear. And I keep
Hmm.
reminding myself, like, I'll trust the universe too much to be scared by this. Trust the
Yeah.
universe too much to be scared by that. And that doesn't mean bad things aren't going to happen. It's not bypassing. It's being like, no, I'm going to anchor into the fact that there's bigger things going on. I'm going to anchor into the fact that other things could be happening. I'm going to
Hmm.
anchor into the fact that the universe has provided for me before and has provided
Hmm.
for us before. And I'm going to lean on that fact to get me through this. It's just
Yeah.
reminding that, like, divinely supported element where, like, I'm divinely supported. I matter. Like, the universe has showed me this so time and time again. I'm going to lean on that. It's
Yeah.
just a really good time to remember that.
Well, I did this literally last night when I was in, not necessarily astral, it was more like astral projecting, I think. I was meditating before I went to sleep and I
Mhm.
was thinking about some stuff that's causing me stress right now. And I had, for those of you who don't know, we talk about realms sometimes. And
Yeah.
Emily encouraged me while we were in Egypt to like allow some of my realm to sort of come into my energy. And I did that. And then what I saw last night was the energy coming in. I now can also send stuff out. So I literally plugged straight into source and I was like, hey, my stress goes to you. Like, I'm going to just,
Mhm.
you convert that into something better. And it was really helpful. I literally did have the thought over the weekend, even though my personal stress isn't over, even though the social stresses that we're going through for the next couple of years, which is not surprising, it's nothing new. You know about this because it started in the previous months, November, um, I had this thought of like, maybe I can figure out how to be happy again. And that
Mm-hmm.
was such a weird moment to be like, the storm's not over, but I can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's without bypassing. Again, you don't want to bypass what's going on. You want to acknowledge your feelings, use your tools, but also know that there is control that you have, and to really claim that for yourself. Like Emily was saying, no one can take your skills from you. That's your power. And so those things
Mm-hmm.
are yours. And it helps you define who you are. It helps prepare you for situations that you may end up in where you can do whatever you're called or summoned to do. And there's strength and power and comfort to be found in that. And I think it's really, really helpful and needed right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. All that's to say, you're gonna make it through this week. If you're be
Mhm.
feeling scared, you transmute that energy, send that
Yeah.
out, do something, move with that energy. Don't sit in it
Yeah.
and spiral. Please don't. It's a week of not intentionally choosing not to sit and spiral.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people aren't going to choose that. And we're going to see that
Yeah.
for
Watch
sure.
them, send them all the best for them, but hold your energy close to you. I would love to really quickly kind of spell out for you what we're getting and some archetypal stuff that goes along with it so that we don't have to be sitting in this like fear of the unknown situation. It's not unknown. We
Yeah.
can give it at least semblance of shape with astrology and intuition and all those things combined. Do you
Yeah.
mind if I just really quickly pop off some
Yeah. I
transits?
mean, it is solar eclipse week. Go for
It
it.
is, but that's not even the only thing, right? So
Hmm.
thank you, phone. I don't know if you heard that, but my phone went off. So on the 27th, we have our first, the next thing that is kind of coming up in this week where Venus will retrograde back into Pisces, the sign of her exaltation, and also conjoin with Neptune there. Neptune
Hmm.
is going to come back into play in a couple days. So Venus, her retrograde arguably might get a little bit better at this point. She's in detriment in Aries until Thursday. And so
Hmm.
what has been testy and feisty and, levels of anger that may have been coming out, particularly in relationships, but even in the things that we value, if they've been fighting you, if your desires have been fighting you, if the things that you find important and want to work have been fighting you, this may ease up, not necessarily because the world is easing up, but because your understanding is growing deeper and you're allowing yourself to process. So, again, do not spiral, allow yourself to process. Also, on the 29th, we have a doozy of a day where the sun experiences the well, it's not a total eclipse, it's partial, but it's like 97% coverage.
Hmm.
So it's pretty close to total. And it will be visible in the United States from like Baltimore and up through the Northeast for a portion of it, but this is not primarily focused on the US. It's mostly for the upper Atlantic, parts of Europe, and into Russia areas, very northern when it comes to the people who see this the most. There's still effects to it. I even got a peer review on it today during my live broadcast by another astrologer that I respect a ton. And so there's a video coming out on that later this week that'll go through the nitty gritty of the astrology and the timing of it, what it represents, and all that stuff. That being said, it's still an intense energy. So there's this intense energy that we're going to feel and maybe not know where to put it. So you want to lean
Hmm.
into things that, and it's an eclipse in Aries. So my recommendation is do like go to a sauna, go somewhere where you can either go into a sauna or a pool. If you're feeling overheated, find a pool. If you're feeling like you really need to release some tension, let yourself relax with a massage, a sauna, do some cardio stuff, do some like kickboxing, a kickboxing class or rock climbing, something physical that lets your muscles work that tension.
Hmm.
And then on the same day, Mercury is going to retrograde back into Pisces and then take its turn to conjoin with Neptune. Now, Mercury does not like Pisces, so things might get a little bit more confusing at this point. This is a good time to lean into your spiritual tools, to not bypass, but lean in to the processing yet again. And then finally, on the 30th, on Sunday, Neptune is going to piece out of Pisces and head into Aries for a couple months, which is the first time it's been outside of Pisces since 2012. So this is a generational, subgenerational cultural shift that we are getting a preview of for the next couple months through October 22nd until Pisces retrogrades back into, or sorry, Neptune retrogrades back into Pisces until I believe it's January when Neptune goes into Aries to stay. So just like Pluto did with the Willy Wonky kind of situation, we're having
Hmm.
that with Neptune this year. And it's Neptune moving from Pisces into Aries. This brings a lot of um, disillusion to our rational world. And so that's something that we might see where, again, it's that oversensitivity and overhype happening to things that should be really straightforward, but now are not. In history, and this is what I want to give us to ground into, when I was doing the research for my students, the last time we had this was in the 1800s, the second half of the Civil War and onward, when we had the Reconstruction era. So we identified something that didn't work. People were not served across the board. There was no equality where there should have been. We resolved that issue, and then we went about trying to create an ideal society that allowed everybody to thrive the way that they needed to. It was a mixed bag of how successful it was, but that's what we might be coming into between now and like the mid 2030s. So just know, like, this is a time of reconstruction on that level and others during an eclipse, during two retrogrades. We are at work right now as a society and as a collective. Individually, it may not be exactly today that we're doing a lot of work, but on a soul level where we're all connected, we are all feeling that work. And so that might be where some of the exhaustion comes in as well.
Yeah. It's important to note too, and we say this with every solar eclipse, and I'm just going to say it again. This solar
Mhm.
eclipse energy is it affects societal, it affects high-powered CEOs and leaders of
Leadership.
countries and those types of things.
Mhm.
So if you're not one of those things, don't freak out about it. It can be a really
Mhm.
powerful energy that like topples some of the hierarchy of your life too. That's good. We want
Mhm.
that. We want to release some of the unnecessary rules that we've been sitting ourselves underneath, and it can
Yeah.
definitely do that energy for you too. So I love the recommendation of physical exercise because I was honestly going to say the same thing.
Mhm.
Or soaking, connecting with water is always
Yeah.
super huge, especially for this particular solar eclipse. But like that was also the pings I was getting when I was looking at the
Yeah.
energy of it. It's just like
Well,
touch water, be
yeah.
near water, have water around.
Like the body is taking a lot right now. Yes, we are
Hmm.
mentally stressed out and stuff, but the body is trying to cope with that. And so, sometimes if we let the body kind of take the lead and have a
Hmm.
minute, it's going to respond in ways that are going to help us all the way around. Like what you eat helps to inform how your body builds itself and different hormones and all that stuff. It's really important to get that whole balance going on, especially these days.
Also, before or even after the solar eclipse, but just kind of around this time, not on the solar eclipse necessarily, really good idea to cleanse your house and reward.
Hmm.
It's a good time to cleanse and reward. Uh, just get some of the old energy out, the stagnant stuff. It's also you can think of it as like spring cleaning. But
Hmm.
just like it's a good time for that right now because there's been a lot of everyone's emotions are running really, really high, and your house tends to contain those emotions. And that means you could be swimming through like fog of your past emotional states, and that's not the funnest. So
Hmm.
getting rid of that is a really, really good call.
Hmm.
Definitely really going to help.
Yeah.
There's so much. It's a time of much. And you know what? There will be times of little too.
Hmm.
That's okay.
But you know what? It's a time of much, and you have muchness. So it's okay. We're going to be all right.
We're gonna be fine. We're gonna
Yeah.
be okay. We trust the universe more than we want to anchor into fear.
Hmm.
And that's gonna be okay. We're gonna be all
Yeah.
right with it. It'll be good. Watch your comfort shows. It's all right.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm
Eat your
about it.
eat your snacky foods. That is
Hmm.
also okay. God, I miss Egypt food.
I know. I've been like, I've been just going to different places being like, can I get, I don't know, a curry or something? Just something
Right.
similar to that was amazing.
Right.
Uh,
I miss fatir. Fatir is like an Egyptian
but,
quesadilla.
uh,
But the dough is like layered and fluffy and flaky, and
and
it's so
they
good.
put the best stuff in it and they make fatir everything. So like you can have cheese fatir, veggie fatir, Nutella fatir.
Oh, I miss fatir. Weston said he'd figure out how to make it, which I'm very thrilled about
The
because
kind that was at like Novotel though, right? The thick
uh-huh,
fatir.
the
Huh.
thick
Yeah.
fatir,
Hmm.
layered with cheese and all the vegetables.
That fed me for multiple days each week that we were there because we
Yeah.
had those nights where we were like we needed a lunch for the bus the next day, but then also like a dinner/breakfast thing for the overnight train. And I had a fatir that just got me through all of it. It was
Mm-hmm.
great.
Because it was heavy and good and
Hmm.
Ugh, even good
Nourishing.
cold. We ate those
I know.
cold.
Yeah. Unless you were on the train with me the second week where we absolutely ran into a gin who heated up the fatir for Genevieve because we donated all of my protein bars, which is something that we will tell you about
Donated
in the recap.
slash offered.
Offered the protein bars. Took all of my protein bars.
Speaking of that, we are going to do Egypt recap. There was too much astrology this week. We didn't want to like leave you stranded because it was really important to talk about. But we have so much to recap about Egypt. I went and got my nails done with a couple of my friends, and they were like, what were your like highlights of the trip?" And I was like, "Oh my God, okay, let me go through them." And I
Day by
think that might
day.
be right. I think that might be a better way of doing it though, because it was 26 days of stuff that we did. So
Hmm.
maybe we work through it more of like highlights, like the things that
Yeah.
stood out to us the most, because oh man, there was
Hmm.
so much. There was so much, and it
We
was
could,
so cool.
yeah, we could honestly do 3 episodes each for the two
Yeah.
trips, because we had
Ugh,
incredible people, because we did
such good
incredible
people.
things. We were with Hani. I will tell you,
Honey,
back-to-back trips with Hani. I will do
the
that again.
best.
I will do
Ugh,
that again. We will
ultimate
do that again.
Habibi.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
Such a good person.
Such
Just
a good person. The
all the
best.
way around.
Hmm.
All the way
Number
around.
one.
Number one. All right, we can talk about that really quick because that's fucking hilarious. So on our cab ride, we're gonna start here because we're not gonna do a full recap, but you need to understand how ridiculous this was, and it was such a theme for the whole trip, and
The
it's
whole
so good.
trip. It was such a
Um,
bridge.
yeah, so on our cab ride from the airport, it was Weston, me, and one of our travelers, and the traveler and I sat in the back, and Weston sat in the front seat. And our driver was like, "It's going to be 30 minutes to hotel. You can ask me any questions about Egypt." And it's like 2 in the morning, and it's still so much traffic in Cairo. Like Cairo is not a chill city in regards to traffic at all. And so Weston's like, I don't know. I gotta ask you questions. And he was like, "Who's that on the billboard?" Because there's these billboards all over with
Mhm.
like different Egyptian celebrities. And apparently Egypt is like the Hollywood of the Middle East. Like that's where all of the stuff gets produced, etc. So he starts getting really hyped, and he's like telling Weston all about all these different shows and things he needs to watch. And he's like, "Oh, and have you heard of Muhammad Ramadan?" And Weston's like, "No." He was like, "Let me show you." And so this man is driving with one hand while searching for a music video, basically on YouTube with the other one. And then he's holding the music video out in front of Weston to watch this music video. And he's watching the music video more than the road significantly. Just like, oh God, don't look forward. And the song is by the number one artist in Egypt right now, this guy named Muhammad Ramadan, who's really not a very good person, to be totally
Mhm.
honest.
Yeah.
We were talking to someone at our hotel, and he was like, "He is the worst of us, but he has good music." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fair." Um, he's not a good person, but oh my gosh, it's very like almost Bollywood vibes to the
Hmm.
song. And he has this dance move where he like moves the one to and from his face with his
Yeah.
head.
So you make like a number one gesture with your hand and you kind of bob like
Yeah,
so if you
yeah,
let your head and your shoulders go, it does it naturally. Yeah.
yeah. And you kind of do that. And and that was one of like four music videos this man showed us. He ended up going the long way around to the hotel just to show Weston more music videos, which was just hilarious and also very dangerous. A little bit of a time with it. But everywhere we went, Weston would immediately make friends with everyone around, even if they didn't speak English, because he would just be like, "Number one." And they'd be like, "No." And
Oh,
so the majority of this trip was just this beautiful cultural bridge through this weird head bobby dance.
yeah.
So, much of our recap, we're going to talk about being number one because it became a thing.
It was important. It was important from day one to the final day. It was there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have so many pictures of Weston doing the number one on the camel,
I know.
inside a pyramid, in a
Yeah.
tomb, on top of on a felucca.
Right? All of us were doing it in the balloon video.
Oh my gosh, in a hot air balloon.
Oh, yeah, it
It
was
became
great.
a whole situation, but it
Hmm.
was great. It worked really well. It was number one actually.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And
on
that's
that
just one
note,
of the, yeah, funny layers that happens on our trips. All
yeah.
of our trips have something like that too.
They do, yeah. Well,
All
and
of
the cool
them.
thing is, like, all of our group chats end up being named something unique. Like
Hmm.
that week ended up being called number one group chat. Our original one from last year, shout out to Habibi group chat.
Yeah.
Um, the first week
Moist.
was noise because
Moist.
Hani really liked saying that from the Key and Peele skit and just being like noise close to the microphone, and it was
Yeah,
so
if like you
good.
understand, I'd be like, you
Noise,
understand? Noise.
noise, or amazing.
Amazing. I'm
Oh,
back. Oh my
oh.
God. There's so many honeyisms.
Every time Hani
Uh,
noticed one of us filming him, he would just be like, "Hi." The best. Oh
uh,
yeah.
but all that's to say, and that goes for all the trips that we do. It's so much fun on so many levels. But one of the best parts about it is like the bonding that we do through like the
Hmm.
inside jokes and funny things that get to come up. And not, I mean, I've been on other group trips that with like
Hmm.
other companies and other space. It's never
You
like
don't even know those other
that. Like,
people. Yeah.
yeah, it's never like that. Like, I can't express how unique it is in these spaces. Like, it's truly the best way to
Yeah.
travel. And I don't
Hmm.
just mean it because like we are lucky enough to host them. I just I've traveled in a lot of other ways, and
Yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
best way. Like, there's places in the world I look at, I'm like, I want to go there, but not unless we do it as a group. Like,
Yeah.
but I
Case
want
in
to do it as
point.
a group. Hmm.
Case in point, that accidental QAnon recruitment trip I went on in 2019, I have no idea the names of anybody on there except for my husband and my parents and the people who hosted the trip. You know who you are. And and I have no idea who anybody else is. I'm still on their really weird and twisted prayer chain emails because I can't get myself off of them. Still don't look at their names. Have no clue who these people are. On
Hmm.
our trips, by day two, if I didn't already know you, I know everybody's name. And we get
Hmm.
to like move around with everybody and there's a memory with every single person. And here's the best part, you guys end up making really good community for yourselves to the point where you guys act like you were a family before you even got there, which is
Hmm.
phenomenal. Please keep doing that. I really love it.
It's so special. It's one of our travelers said, and I
Oh my
will keep this
gosh.
in my heart forever.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy. But she
Hmm.
was like, it's really wonderful to have a place to feel safe in these times. And these trips and these groups it's like the ultimate safe place
Hmm.
is truly how it feels. And that just that's our goal. Like that's
Yeah.
the coolest thing ever. That's the greatest compliment we could have been offered
Hmm.
in that way. It's just be like, oh yeah, because we feel safe there too.
Hmm.
Like Weston asked, like, what are you missing most about Egypt? Or was it Weston? I forget who asked me yesterday. And I was like, honestly, the feeling is safety,
Yeah.
which sounds
Well,
so weird, but it
no, but
is true.
yeah, the mentor I'm working with in Canada for my theology
Mhm.
research and stuff, right before I went to Egypt, he said, "Well, be safe," and I was like, "Oh, don't worry, Egypt is super safe." And he was like, "No, I meant when you get home." And
Yeah.
he, you know what? Yeah, he was right. Like I got home and immediately, I'll tell you, I got on my flight from London to the US and someone comes on the plane with a Doge hat. And I immediately was just like, I'm not here for this. Like I'm so done already. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And like again, because I, being the person I am with the choices I have made with my own body, feel unsafe because God forbid he notices, has an opinion, and can't keep his mouth shut, right?
Hmm.
I know what happens. The plane doesn't take off. I just want to get home, and so do the rest of the 300 people here. Like that
Hmm.
had to play out in my head just because of this one person. And that's unfortunate. And I
That
do miss,
sucks.
and again, it's not a perfect world, right? And we were in the lens of tourists for a lot of it,
Of
like
course.
so we understand that there was a certain level of maybe rose tinted glasses to that. We respect it. But also it's so much nicer to be in a place where the level of social community is such that you get to pray in the street with people because it's Friday during Ramadan or the sun goes down and the streets are flooded with people making sure you get 3 dates and some milk to break your fast. And
Hmm.
just that support that they had for each other regardless of anything else was amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, we had the very unique privilege of going to places that are not touristy
mhm,
too. Like
yeah.
we eat lunch with the family in a small village, like
Hmm.
off the beaten path. There's
Yeah.
5 families in this village, and that's all the people. And we get to go there and walk through the normal streets there and
Hmm.
wave to the kids. And like and we went to a Nubian village as well on
Hmm.
Elephantine Island, and like not touristy at
Hmm.
all in
Yeah.
those spaces. And that's just because Hani knows people, to be totally
Yeah.
honest. And like Intrepid knows people and like does that, and that's amazing. So I think
Yeah.
there's definitely layers of rose tinted glasses for sure, but there's also layers of truth that we got to see and experience and
Yeah.
be in community with in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, and that was really beautiful.
Because literally just every time we went somewhere, it was Hani saying hello to some Habibi and us being welcomed into that because we were with Hani.
Hmm.
So, so cool. Every hotel we went to, every family we got to see, we ended up just having like a family moment with all of them, which is better than a
Hmm.
lot of the family moments I experienced just even growing up. So,
Yeah. The captain on our felucca was the
oh
best. He
my
was
God.
so wonderful. And I was taking
Mm,
pictures like, take one with me. And I was like, okay. So I have wonderful pictures with him and
yeah.
just fun,
Hmm.
wonderful, welcoming, kind, funny people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
just a different sense of community. If you have never been to a um, Muslim based society, like highly recommend going. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's
Hmm.
wonderful to be in the Middle East. The people are so loving and caring and just
Hmm.
different ideology than a lot of the Western world.
Hmm.
And it's wonderful to exist in that and see, like, again, what we're doing doesn't have to be this way. Like, it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really profound and powerful. Anyway, we have a whole recap. We're going to do that next episode.
Yep.
But if you want to experience some magical trip energy with us, we have
Yeah.
officially launched our trip to Peru next
Yes.
March.
Yes. Oh.
And we wanted to talk a little bit through the itinerary with you guys to talk about some of the stuff we're going to be seeing and doing because
Hmm.
a lot of the places we go, people are vaguely familiar with in like a deeper sense. Peru, not so much. Like most people, it's like, what's in Peru? And most people might be like Machu Picchu. Like, and there's not a lot there if you haven't had a lot of exposure to it. So we wanted to just talk through some of the stuff that we're going to like explore and be doing while in Peru so you have a better understanding of that. We do still have some spots available on the trip at the time of this recording. So we would love, 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 love for you to come with us. It's going to be so much fun.
Hmm.
Um, Also, at the time of this recording, we do have one spot on Thailand as well.
Hmm.
So
That's
if
this
you
fall.
want to
Hmm.
dive in, and we have one spot available on Thailand.
Yeah.
That's going to be so much freaking fun.
Hmm.
We get to
Yeah.
like raft through like sacred cave systems and do all like not like whitewater rafting, like floating on like a
No, but
little
like,
log raft like
yeah.
through this and like oh, it's going to be so cool
There's
and
like a
hot
really short
springs.
biking tour through ruins that I'm so stoked
Yeah.
about because like I can barely ride a bike, but I can ride a bike for about a mile. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited about it.
It's
Uh,
gonna be yeah, also I'm also very bad at riding bikes. So it's gonna be a
yeah.
fun adventure for you all to watch us struggle. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so much fun.
We're gonna be supporting each other for sure. It's gonna be awesome.
We're gonna go to an elephant rescue, not one of those
Yes.
places where you get to like take pictures with an elephant rescue where they've
Hmm.
rescued elephants from those places and talk to them and oh,
Hmm.
it's gonna be amazing. That's Thailand. Let's talk about
Hmm.
Peru though. In Peru,
Yeah.
we get to see a different set of ruins every
Every
single
day.
day.
And there's
Some
food.
multiple types of ruins,
Yeah.
which is really cool. It is a little bit more active of trips than we typically do. It has
Hmm.
multiple hikes and kind of longer walks. Um, Not all of them have to be done. If you're like, I want to go, but I don't want to do this hike or that, that's fine.
Hmm.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
We're never going to be like, well, you're not going to get all the, no, like it's okay if you don't want to do
Hmm.
a hike. That's totally good. But we start in Cusco. I'm Peru's new group vibes as soon as every time I say it. And I know
Yeah.
that's like super, like, I hope that's not an insult in any way, but it's just
Hmm.
every time it's like, Cusco, doo-doo-doo.
I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's Groove. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the vibes.
Mhm.
So we start off with like a ruins tour where we go through I think 4 or 5 different ruins in
Hmm.
one like hike that we do, which is a very moderate hike. And it's going to be so cool. Most of the ruins we're going to focus on ritual spaces, ceremonial spaces, and magic spaces in the ruins specifically.
Hmm.
So we're going to get to really feel a lot of that. Um, there's a lot of like water worship and connection that way, as well as cultural connection too. So we'll do like
Yeah.
walking tours of every single one of the cities we stay in. We stay in 3 different cities, and it's really
Yeah.
cool.
Well, and here's the other thing I like. When you look at the itinerary on the on the website, which will be linked below, I'm sure, it does tell you how long the walk will be, what the difficulty is. So yes,
Hmm.
there's a hiking tour or hiking through the Cusco ruins, which is really cool. But then the Cusco walking tour, it's half a mile to a mile. Like, so
Hmm.
it's not another hike. It's a separate thing. And so you get to see, like, they recommend this kind of clothes for this day. They recommend, how long it's going to be and how to prepare yourself for that. So you can get a really good, as an autistic person who likes to be prepared for everything with as much information as possible. I am the one who knows what I'm going to order as soon as I sit down at the restaurant because I've already looked at the menu. I love this. I appreciate this. We were part of helping this become a thing for Trova, and I'm so glad
Hmm.
that they've implemented it. Like again, please note, restroom facilities are available at cafes and restaurants for an additional fee. So now you know
Yeah.
where that's going to be. Like I get to know this and to bring extra something in my pocket for the additional fee to make sure I can go to the bathroom. Also, I'm going to recommend just from experience, also bring toilet paper. But
Yeah.
it's just really good to be able to have
Yeah, that was definitely us too. Like
that.
we worked with Trover on this extensively. Um, yeah, we also get to do like the Pisac ruins, and we're going to go to a community, just like we just talked about, like going to the Nubian dinner. We're going to go to the Amaru community and have food there and experience like cultural experiences as well as our normal walking tours through the cities and understanding the markets. And it's going to be a
Hmm.
beautiful, like one of the towns we go to, Alente Tambo. I'm so sorry if I butcher that, is really cool because it's like a cobblestone small village that we get to
Hmm.
stay in, which is just magical and fantastic. We are going to, of course, see Machu Picchu, and it was really wonderful when I posted the location announcement on my social media. um, I had someone comment like, "Hey, I'm from Peru, and my boyfriend is not at all spiritual, but I took him to Machu Picchu, and that's the first place he said that he ever felt truly spiritually connected to the other world." And I was like, "Well, that's amazing." And then she also went through and was like, "Also, the rest of the places you're going on your itinerary are amazing. You're doing it perfectly. Those are all the spiritual places that I would tell people to go." So it's been approved by a
Hmm.
Peruvian, that
Thank
this
you.
is where we should go and experience. But we're going to do a Machu Picchu ruins tour, of course, which is huge. But we also have a Machu Picchu ruins tour hike the next day if you wanted to participate in that too. So it's kind of like a 1-2. Lots of communing with nature, lots of like cleansing, lots of connecting with. There's a lot of very ancient magic is still very much alive
Yeah.
there because it's not as ancient as other places, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
It is, but it's not. And so the magic sites, though they are, ruins now at this moment, are still very, they're still temples. They're still active. They're still very connected to the original ley lines and magic and everything that they were originally connected with, which is just, it's a really cool experience to get to connect with that.
Hmm.
So we get to do a cooking class, which
Yeah, it's gonna be
no
fun.
no complaints there.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Um, that's going to be so fun. We've done one other cooking class on a trip, which was sushi making in Japan, and we had such a good time in that class. One, it was inside and cool, which we really
Hmm.
needed at that
Uh-huh.
moment. Um, but two, oh my gosh, we had such a fun time, and we were goofy, and the rice got everywhere, and it was just really playful, and we had a blast, honestly, with that. That was definitely one of the highlights of the trip.
Hmm.
Just because it was silly and it was just bonding, and then you get to eat the food you make, and it's just special. So yeah, that was amazing. It's gonna be such a fun adventure. I'm so excited. I want to hug an alpaca so desperately. I don't know if they want to hug me, but I really would like to hug one. So I'm
I'm
fingers crossed.
I bet that can be arranged,
Listen, which one of them is the most huggable? Can I
right?
please hug one? They
Which one's the
just
most social? Can I hug one?
ever
And then
told you my story about the llama.
I don't
I have a
think
llama
so.
story. Oh my
You have a
God.
llama
Was it
story?
llama or alpaca? I
They
don't
have
know.
both there. Llamas are more pack animals there, and alpacas are for their wool.
Yeah. So I forget which one it was. They're relatively same creatures, but
Yeah.
this is the most ridiculous story. So when I was a teenager, I went over to my cousin's house with one of my best friends, and next door there was a man who had a llama slash alpaca farm. I don't know what he had. And we were walking over just to like see them and like peek through the fence line. And we'd never spoken to this man before. I spent a lot of time at my cousin's house. We had never spoken to this man before, but he comes walking down his driveway and he's like, "Hey, you looking at the llamas?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he was like, "You want to come pet one?" We're like, "Sure, like we'll come pet one." So he like leads us around into his property and he opens the gate and puts us in the field with the llamas. And we're like, "Oh, cool. Like comfortable being in fields with livestock. I've done this many times." I'm trying to get the llamas to come over and like a couple of them are coming over and I'm giving them pets. And he was like, "You want to learn how to tame them?" And we were like, "Sure." And so he's like, "Come here." And he like leads us into this like dark little barn. And immediately I'm like, "We shouldn't do this." Same with my cousin. He's also like, "This isn't the best idea." But my best friend, who's very reckless, was like, "Doing it. Let's go." And I was like, "We don't go into the dark barn with a strange man we don't know. All right, rock on." And he's like, "Here you go." And he's like, "There's a couple in here that need the taming." Awesome. All right. So we're now in this dark barn with this man. And he's like, "Yeah, you approach it and you come at him from the side, then you lock, and he hooks a llama. And the llama's screaming. He was like, "Oh, just wait till they calm down." And he's like full body wrestling this llama until the llama's like, "Ah," and like stops doing it. And he's like, "Now you turn." I'm like, "I'm not gonna headlock a llama, sir."
Oh,
But Poe's like, "I'm gonna headlock a llama." She gets over there and she headlocks a llama, and the llama's like spitting and everything. And then finally it calms down. He's like, "Now they're tame." And she's like, "They're tame. I think they're just scared." So
yeah.
then we left shortly after that. But that was my big llama experience is
Hmm.
apparently he put him in a headlock. Why? I don't know. It didn't do anything productive, but that's what you do to tame the llamas, according to the man with the scary tiny barn. I
Okay.
don't want to do that. I want to do a nice happy hug. I
Yeah,
want to do like a
no.
llama
Like, yeah, Cheebers, llama trauma.
hug. Trauma. Needless to say, none of them really wanted to hang out with us after that, which is
Hmm.
what a shock.
Understandable.
It's like,
I
oh,
was I was going to also add that because this is one of our trips, not only do you
hmm
get to hang out with us, which obviously is entertaining, but also we will be doing workshops. Here is the
yeah,
thing.
the big
Okay,
ones.
sorry. We have heard that other people host these trips where you are able to make workshops and they don't really do workshops. Like you'll go on a trip with someone who's claiming to be, into astrology and stuff and they don't teach you any astrology. That's unfortunate. This trip is going to happen during the Aries Ingress. You better believe I'm going to be teaching you stuff about the Aries Ingress during this trip. You will learn astrology. We're going to see stars. I'm going to show you how to find the stars without one of those apps that you download that shows you where they are. You will not need anything more than maybe an astrology chart. You will actually be able to see how to
Mhm.
use an astrology chart analog to find planets. It's going to be really cool. Plus, anything else I can come up with in the meantime. We're going to teach you about channeled history. Tons of opportunity for that Em will be able to like really go
Mhm.
deep with because Em's incredible at it. We'll be able to teach you about intuitive wandering and all the other stuff. There will be workshops. You will develop your skills on this trip. So not only
Mhm.
is it super fun with some really amazing people, but you're going to grow and you're going to have more skills when you come home. And you're going to have our
Yeah.
support there the entire time. It's
hmm
it's why we were brought to this world, I swear to goodness.
hmm
And I'm really excited to be able to do it again with you guys.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. Yeah, we do so many really cool workshops. That being said, if you look at it and you're like, "Oh, I love these workshops," we'll do probably those ones, but
Yeah,
we
they
also go with whatever is intuitively aligned that day. It's a year from now. So
mhm,
sometimes we will come in and be like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that one. We're going to do this instead. We'll do that instead." So don't necessarily be like, "Buy the book, we're doing this thing." Because we have to throw those in over a year in advance. And once we get into the energy, we might shift that to be more aligned with the energy to make sure you get more out of it. But we do at least one, typically 2 to 3 workshops a day, but never in a way that's a hindrance. It's always like on the bus or in the
mhm,
train or on the boat or like those types of spaces where we're in transit. We never have like a you have to come and show up for class. Never that. It's always
mhm.
like on the go so that it's part of the experience and flows with what we're naturally doing. We have done workshops during hikes. We have done workshops on the sides of like on a bridge and like whatever, like
I got to
all
teach
sorts of
astrology
stuff.
from the roof of a felucca last week or 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago. It was awesome.
it was super cool. So we do them on the flow. That's how we do the workshops. So
Hmm.
just know that going into it, you will have not just workshops, but workshops that are aligned with what we are truly doing, and it's
Hmm.
very powerful. And we're really proud of it, honestly. So yeah. All that's to say, if you want to join us, check it out. Payment plans are available for the trip. So it will link it below, or you can just search Rofa trip with Emily and KristaLyn, or go to the link in either of our bios and you'll be able to find it. And yeah, we would love to adventure with you in Peru. And we do have a
Mhm.
couple other trips coming up in 2026 as well. So just want to like highlight
Yeah.
that as well. That's the first trip of 2026. We have at least two more, at least three more we'll be doing
Mhm.
that year.
Mhm.
So just know that we're not telling you where yet. No
No,
spoilers.
no. But if
But
you're looking for islands of relief in the next couple years of living in the United States, we can provide those.
yeah. Being said, the world's going through this all together.
Yeah.
It's not just United States centric.
Hmm.
It's not.
Yeah, no, no.
So
Huh.
we'll do it together. We got
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, that to be clear, wherever you are in the world, you are welcome on these trips. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, wonderful. Thank you all so much for listening and for hanging out with us. Next week will be Egypt recap. We will do Egypt recap
Yay. I'm so
next week.
excited. Oh my
It's
gosh.
gonna be so
I'm
fun.
gonna have to pull out my journal and just be like, what? It's gonna
I
be great.
know. So many things that we've done.
Hmm.
It was wow. It was just wow.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
have so much growth and wow. And
Hmm.
I accidentally bribed myself into a crypt on accident. So that
Yeah.
was a fun experience.
Yep.
Like that's a lot of things.
I finally
Uh,
made up with Sekhmet.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
win.
Hmm.
It's a huge win. Yeah. So anyway, we hope that you embrace this energy, even though it's scary, and that you very intentionally, one, two, three, go
Go
make some
make some
magic.
magic.
Sparkle.
Woo.
Yay.
Confetti.
Oh, real quick.
Oh, wait.
One last thing. If you guys have had if this podcast has impacted you,
Oh,
or you
yeah.
would like to send us a testimonial about how this podcast has impacted you, we're currently trying to expand the podcast and grow into things like sponsorships, live shows, all those different things. We hinted at it a little bit last week. But if you have a testimonial about this podcast and what it means to you, please shoot us that in an email. We would really deeply appreciate that
Hmm.
so much.
ForgottenStorytellers@gmail.com.
Yes. Cool.
Cool.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Also, it might be hi at thealchemistinkwell.com too
Yeah.
shortly.
Yeah.
So just if you listen
Yeah.
to this later, it might be transitioning. All that.
Hmm.
Thank you. Love
Send
you.
it to
Bye.
both. One of them will get to us. Or put it